Hi, everyone. I'm putting this video out because I want a certain person or a group of people to take a look at something really specific. They requested to take a look at the drone footage, and I already made a video of the drone footage that was shot by Justin and his wife Michelle when they were here. That they live in Wyoming, and they were here roughly maybe a month ago. I forgot exactly when. So everything is kind of frozen there now. So this is not a summer video, but there's really some interesting news that I'm going to tell you guys, and I can't tell you now because I'm still working out the details, and I don't want to jump the gun. In order for me to do that, I want to point something out very specific to certain people that are going to be taking a look at this video. Right here in the beginning, we're above the waterfalls. That would be the Marble Gaze. This is below the wheel, and the sun goes right through over here, over these campsites, and it comes right down over the waterfall. But I want to point a couple things out. So let me let the video play, and I'm going to talk over it on occasion. Right here, you can see the waterfall. This is the Five Springs Creek. This is why you can't come down from above. This is why the poem has you coming up from the bottom, because this is like 200 feet high. There's no way that you could fall. You would kill yourself. So the water comes down here, and then it pulls up a little bit here, and then it goes over a little waterfall over here, and that waterfall is maybe 8 feet high. I want to say 10 feet maybe, and then of course the creek continues down through the campsites. First of all, I want you to notice the trees and the landscape, how craggy and how rocky this is. Okay. This is kind of a box canyon because the only way to come in is from this direction. Now, the sheep eaters that used to be up at the wheel, when they're up at close to 10,000 feet during the winter, they would seek shelter and they would come down here, which is roughly 7,000 feet in altitude. And they're sheltered from the winds because they're in a canyon. There's a lot of winds up in this area of the Bighorn Canyon through here. Wind rips through here like crazy. Okay. And everything is craggy and rocks. There's rock slides. That's the reason for the heavy load. So let's take a look at this. Just so you know, the sun comes right down here, goes right in that direction at sunrise on solstice. So, in other words, if you went from the wheel across the e-current, and you look the opposite direction of the sun and you follow the sunlight down into this canyon, the sun would appear to shoot along this line right here. Now, right here, I want to point out all of this white. And the person that's going to be looking at this will know what I'm talking about. I want to point all that out. And then, of course, the water itself that's coming down the falls over here, and then just down here is ice that forms down here. In the wintertime, people actually come up here and they climb up this waterfall on the ice. So it freezes pretty much solid, but underneath the ice is still always water flowing all year long along this creek. This creek's headwaters is formed by five springs. Okay, that's why it's called Five Springs. So they're not geysers; they're warm springs. And the Indians consider anything that water that comes up from the ground warm because it's warm under the ground, and when it hits the atmosphere, it becomes cold, and it's extremely cold up here in the Bighorns, especially up at the wheel at 10,000 feet. Right here, this is roughly 7,500 feet, give or take. And the campgrounds is roughly 6,500 feet altitude. The basin at the base of the mountain or the canyon is 5,000 feet. This creek comes down over the waterfall, cuts through the campground, goes over an intersection, and then it goes into the Bighorn River, where it heads up towards Montana. But before it gets into Montana, it goes into a huge, you can call it a lake. It's a reservoir. It's the Bighorn Recreation Area. It's a famous trout fishing area and stuff. It's historical. This site's all historical, of course. So, but I wanted to point out the white here to that person and the trees and just let him get an overview of the scenery up here. And you can see there's a lot of falls. There's a waterfall here. There's a big waterfall here. There's a little waterfall around here. And by the way, this would be south. This is roughly north over here. This would be northeast. And of course, this would be west. There's a better picture of that white streak coming down and all the white. This is not snow. The mountains kind of have the white color to them. I don't know what kind of rock this is, but that's a natural color there. Now, I want to stop it here. The creek, like I said, goes over a waterfall here. It comes down into a campground. That campsite is roughly over here. So, like I said, the sun comes right down here on solstice sunset. These are the heavy loads. This is a rock slide. There's a lot of rock slides here. In fact, there's 2 signs on this trail that tell you to beware that there's rock slides here. Those will be heavy loads. And water high, of course, is a description of the waterfalls. But over here is where the trail is no longer maintained when you're coming out here and where you would take the final hike to the falls. And then you can hike up the small falls and go back here towards the large falls. And that's about as far as you can go. The only way to get to this campsite, number 9, over here, it's actually under the trees, is by following this trail or coming down along this way. Clearing is over here that we were looking for at the campsite. That's where underneath this tree canopy, right where the sun goes over, is where the 2 trees are that are shaped like upside down omegas or horseshoes. You can see that in my picture. And if you look across, that's where the nook is down here. And there's a tree down here that grew also. It bends 90 degrees, and then it's shaped like an omega laying on its side as it covers the nook. That's about 50 or 30 feet, 40 feet, I don't know, below. You'd have to go down this embankment from the campsite, ford the creek, which is really easy. It's not deep water at all. It's very shallow. And then right on the opposite side is where the nook is. And the fallen tree is over here that's shaped like an omega. Okay. So this opening would come, it never grows in. So during the summer, if you were to fly a drone, you could see straight down to where that omega is. But you can't see it from Google Earth. Google Earth doesn't have high enough resolution to go down. So technically, that omega laying on its side comes straight up to the sky, and that's how you're beneath both the lush green forest, because all this grows in. So this is your lush green forest with the creek running through it, Five Springs Creek, through the campsite. And this is the northernmost campsite, number 9. And there's 9 clues in the poem. So the main things I wanted you to see was all the white that we have going on over here. And of course, it's being enhanced by the sun is currently setting. It's going down. But in the morning on solstice, the sun is coming from over in this direction from the wheel and shooting right down here. There's the rest of that trail, and then it goes back to the all the way back to the parking area. There's a campsite number 8 over here. Like I said, campsite number 9 is the furthest one. Here's where you would park. Here's where the first signs are that you would see that this is the trail that takes you to heavy loads and water high. These are the double loops that you can see on Google Earth. This is the entrance to the lower campground right here. And of course, you'd come up here and park your car. So at most, Forrest had to go 1,000 feet, maybe. And he had all day to do it because he could have sat at that campsite and nobody would be suspicious because he's got a backpack sitting there with the treasure chest in it. He doesn't need to be in any rush. This campsite is not heavily traveled. And down here is where the cows go. This is a place where they would bring cattle, not now because this is a fall, right? But that's where they would go. And if you continued up the road, over here is where the upper campground is. But there's no water over there. There's no reason to go there because the creek goes straight down here. Now you can see that the road here goes through a bunch of switchbacks as it descends the mountain. This is the crossroads that the sun crosses over. This is the way you would come up. So he takes you down the mountain from the wheel, and then you would turn onto the campground road. This road is described up at the wheel as the crossroads of culture because this part of the road is based on an ancient trail that goes back thousands of years. And then it turned into from an animal trail to a Travis trail where they had the mules and the horses dragging poles that would create ruts in the ground. And then up until the 1960s, of course, in the early 1900s, they would have Model Ts coming up here and they would follow those same ruts. So up until 1965, if you wanted to come up the wheel, you would come this way, and this was the only way. The road did not continue on the other side of this mountain until 65. So this was a very dangerous road, and was called Salt Road. They used it to bring salt up and down in and out of the Bighorn Basin. This is where they had the largest herd of cattle, and then eventually became a herd of sheep. And if you keep following the creek down, the creek ends up in the Bighorns right over there. There's 2 reservoirs at the end. And that's also where the ranch is that the guy who owned all this area lived back in the day. Oh, and this over here is Rainbow Canyon. So the sun comes right down and then it hits Rainbow Canyon. Over here along this road, there's an exit you could take, but this is private property. So you would probably have to come in from over here, okay, and go around the private property. And then there's an overlook down here where you can look into Rainbow Canyon. So that would be the end of the rainbow. So the sun comes right down, crosses that intersection, goes right into the rainbow. And then now the camera's going to pan down and you're going to see the picture, which reminds me of the picture on page 99 in The Thrill of the Chase, where he's showing a basin. But imagine that you're at the town of Lovell, which is over here, and you're looking in this direction to the southwest. So Lovell is over here. Just keep that in mind. And here's the basin. You can see all the way across. You know, Yellowstone National Park would be on the other side of these mountains. And Cody is like way over here. So from this vantage point, you can see everything that Forrest Fenn discusses, where he loved as a kid. You could see up in Montana. You could see all along the mountains. And on a clear day, you can even see the Wind River Mountains and the Grand Tetons. So this is all like 5,000 foot elevation, roughly, down here. This is the flatland. The topographical map at that point becomes relatively flat. Okay. And then we quickly ascend up to almost 10,000 feet where the wheel is behind us now. Now the camera's going to pan off to the other side, and I'm probably going to stop at this point because you could watch this video on my channel if you want to see the rest of it. Here's my Microsoft Word copy that I made personally by taking a picture and doing OCR to translate the text for every single page. Here we are on page 99 in my War for Me. All right. If this were level over here, you could see across the basin, this would be the Five Springs Canyon. This is Medicine Mountain Peak that would have the radar dome on it, like we have right now. And the medicine wheel is over on this side. And you can see this kind of looks like a hand with an arrow pointing straight down. That is exactly where campsite 9 would be. And like I said, he takes you down the mountain and he brings you up the canyon into that location. That's how I see this. We're looking southwest, and this is where the treasure chest was, in my opinion. So I just wanted to put this out there. I'm not going to discuss anything else. I wanted to make sure that a certain set of people see this. And hopefully I'll get more information and I can come back and tell you guys what I'm doing this for, what this whole thing about, and it'll blow you away. I mean, let's put it this way. If you see what I want to show you, there is going to be zero doubt in your mind that this sob is correct. And I'm holding that back right now until it's the right time. And I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about before I do that, you know. But be ready because I'm going to show you. And this is the kind of stuff that's going to be on my channel. So be sure to click subscribe and click that bell icon so that you're notified when I come out with a new video. I don't make any money doing this stuff. So the least you can do is give me follows because I mean, I'm wasting a lot of time here now for no reason. There's no more reward. The chase is over. I'm doing this to try to help everybody get closer, including myself. That's the only reason. So if I don't have any support in doing so, I may as well not do it. Anyway, have a good day. Peace.